Craig Bruce is the head of content for one of Australia's most powerful and far-reaching media brands, Southern Cross Austereo. I am really thrilled to have Craig with us today. He has over 25 years of experience creating content both on and off air for some of the country's most loved and popular shows like across the Today and Triple M networks. His career as a creator of content has seen him work with more than 30 radio shows, including #1 rating drive hosts Fifi and Jules, Hamish and Andy, and Breakfast with the Stars duo Kyle and Jackie O. Please welcome Craig.
G'day, everyone.
There it is. That's what we need to hear.
That's what you need.
So, Craig, I really want to just get you started more than anything because you've got a little, some slides to run through, and I want to
just a few. Won't bore you.
Just a few. Let me get out of the way a little bit so you can actually run them. But I wanted to get a sense first from you. How do you see the world? I mean, what is the world of radio specifically in all its shapes and sizes like down under? And what do we need to know about it stateside?
Okay, well, just firstly, just on Australia, I am not Crocodile Dundee, and we're not all Crocodile Dundee. We don't have kangaroos hopping down the main streets of our major cities. We're a modern, thriving, inventive country, and our culture is actually really similar to yours in lots of ways. And I say that in the context of today's session because I think a lot of what is happening on Australian radio can apply to some of the challenges and opportunities facing the US. So that's the business I work for, Southern Cross Austereo. We have top 40 radio brands, rock brands, adult formats in our Australian regional markets. We have TV regional stations as well. We reach about 10 million people, which is about half the population. So what's special about Australian radio? I reckon there's three things. Firstly, if you ever come to Australia, you'll notice that we seriously invest in our brands and our shows. Above-the-line marketing is certainly in the major cities. In Sydney and Melbourne is everywhere. Billboards, TV commercials. We had a friend of ours, Larry Rosen from Edison Research here in the States, come to Australia last year, and that was the first thing he noticed, was that our brands are everywhere, certainly in the bigger markets, and not just ours, right around the country with our competitors as well. So we invest heavily in our brands, in our shows, and in digital innovation as well. I think Australian radio is one of the most innovative territories in the world, and it has been for quite a period of time. I think some of the best radio ideas have come out of Australia over the last 15 years. Things like Two Strangers in a Wedding and The Fugitive and 15 Days of Fame and Life Swapping, The Great Race. You know, some of these ideas not only appear and happen on international radio stations, but they became TV shows as well. So creativity and innovation has always been a really big thing with Australian radio. The thing that really separates us, though, is our focus on talent. So the #1 media brand in Australia is a radio show.
Can you repeat that? Because I think that's huge.
Yeah, the #1 media brand, not radio brand, the #1 media brand in Australia is a radio show. It's not Hugh Jackman, it's not Nicole Kidman, it's not a TV show, it's a radio show.
It's not Kylie Minogue.
No, it's not Kylie Minogue. No, Kylie Minogue, good work. It's these guys, Hamish and Andy. Hamish and Andy are a really interesting story. They came to us in 2001, straight out of university. They were in their late teens, early 20s. We developed them for 5 years off Broadway, and by that I mean weekends, late nights, developed their act to a point where they were ready to do a national drive show on the Today Network, and within 5 years they had 10% of the national cume listening to them. So, 2 million people a week, the biggest radio show ever on Australian radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, Hamish and Andy.
Hello, good evening and welcome.
Madam Secretary, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's very exciting, and we start with a gift. It's potato chips or crisps.
I am thrilled. I cannot tell you how much this means to me.
Are you a collector of chips? Is this your first?
I'm an eater of chips.
Yeah. We recommend not. No, not those. It was used by 2 years ago. If you try to eat them, technically that's an assassination attempt by us. So.
The future was great. We were making friends. We even thought we saw a celebrity.
Well, actually, I'm Dom Hanks. Tom Hanks was my grandfather.
I'm so sorry. You're a spitting image. That's
I get that a lot.
You're about to go out and perform in front of thousands of people. Not nervous
Way
about
more
that?
nervous about this. That's 2 hours. That's forever. I'm shaking.
We are better than you two.
We sent you the invite, so where the hell are you?
This is big for me, and as I'm not that big, when I say the next thing, I'm not asking you to arise.
Oh, we've actually got your parents here.
Oh,
Yeah, do you want to speak to them?
I would love to. Waiting on Mom and Dad to connect.
Hey, son.
Dad, the Skype connection is going in and out, but did you get that corncob pipe I sent you?
Yeah, can you see it right now? It's delicious.
Yeah, oh, there it is. Okay.
Are you meant to smoke corn in it? Because that's what I've been doing.
The comedy was at Mars. It's Hamish and Andy.
Hamish and Andy, a huge double act in Australia.
It was nice of them. The rest of them are saying, their surname's Minogue.
There they are. Did anyone notice anything? Thank you. Did anyone notice anything about that video? Anything at all? Did anyone see a radio studio in any of those videos? So these guys completely redefined what radio meant in Australia and set a new benchmark in terms of what we were capable of. And I reckon the key point is that the next generation of radio stars are listening to the radio right now. And I wonder who they're hearing, I wonder what they're hearing, and I wonder what we're telling them about ourselves in terms of the people that we have on the air. And I know that in Australia, you've got a whole generation of new people coming into this medium because of that show. And I think that's the opportunity, certainly for Australian and American radios, to continue to invest in talent.
Now, it's interesting that you say that you don't see a radio studio anywhere there, because that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. When I see TV shows that have radio, of radio shows, they're invariably the cans, the board, the mic, everything. And I always ask myself, why do they need those trappings when it's not for the radio, it's for the four corners of the screen?
Yeah. And I mean, these guys came into it with just a completely fresh approach to how we should go about it, and we went with it. Talking about the fear of failure and the fear of doing different things. That the company really got behind this idea of, obviously they're incredibly talented, but we put all of our resources around trying to explore and create all of these ideas that they had in their heads.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about the investment. You said investment's very important. I mean, just how important is it, and how hard do you have to convince management to do it?
Well, I am management, and it's and I have a conversation with myself every day. Look, there's two types of investment. There's financial investment, and then there's an investment in thinking and focus, and that's where we're at. So Southern Cross Austereo spends money on talent development, but there's a bunch of things that we do, which I'm sure some of you guys are doing as well, to reinforce the importance of talent. Francis McCann is... and you would have seen U2 in the previous clip. We met, U2 actually played live at Hamish and Andy's final show in Australia when they finished up a couple of years ago. We met Frances through that. So she ran the U2 brand strategy, PR strategy for a number of years. And we learnt through her that that successful bands and successful breakfast shows are really similar. When you become a successful band, it's about how do we keep the band together and how do the individuals contribute to the whole. So we brought her to Australia, and we bring her to Australia every year. She does one-on-one sessions with our key talent. She does one-on-one sessions with our up-and-coming talent. And it's all about understanding their brands and understanding how they can explode their brands across a bunch of different platforms. Her Twitter handle is right there. She will change the conversation you're having with your talent if you're interested. We have a content hub, a closed Facebook group. Nothing necessarily new in this, but certainly the tyranny of distance in Australia is, I guess, the same as in the States. We have announcers in Cairns, far north Queensland, at the top of Australia, and we have announcers in Bunbury at the bottom west part of Australia. So my idea was to go, well, how do we get every single person in the one space where we can talk about all of the things that are important for SCA? So from a content perspective, every single person who is developing either on the air or off the air content for our business is in that space, and there's a bunch of new ideas and new thinking that we bring to that every day. The SCA grad school, I'm sure you've done boot camps. The difference for us is that we invite people from all of the radio industry to our SCA grad school. We see ourselves as leaders in the industry. We think it's important that we share our IP, not our individual strategies around what we're doing from station to stations, but our IP with the business. We see ourselves as, having to lead the category forward. So we do that every year. And we do EP boot camps as well. So executive producers, as I see them, are the most important person on a radio station content team outside of the content director. We know the attributes and the sorts of behaviours they need to have to be able to run a successful show. We work on them on a regular basis and get together once a year with all of our breakfast EPs to talk about best practice. So there's 3 or 4 examples of what we do to develop talent and to invest in talent.
What about discovering talent? What do you do to discover talent?
We look under every rock. We just never... so we're in a race. We're in a race to find the next Hamish and Andy. Because we know firsthand what a Hamish and Andy can do to your business. It transformed our business, it transformed the category. So for us, we are in a race every day to find the next Hamish and Andy. And we have to get to them first, and we have to be prepared to invest our time and our energy and our focus through mentoring and coaching to give that team, whoever that might be, and you're going to kiss a lot of toads along the way. That's how it should work. Not every new talent that comes into the business is going to get to where we need them to go. But that is absolutely our focus, which is to take every single opportunity, be it a YouTube star or a stand-up comedian or whatever it might be, bring them into the business and see what we can do with them.
How patient are you? How patient do you have to be?
Well, I think that comes down to instincts to a degree. There's lots of places you can put a young and emerging team or talent on the air. I mean, you can do, there's weekends, late nights. We talked about mid-dawns before. There is no excuse not to develop talent on FM. And money shouldn't be a barrier. As Tracy said before, there are plenty of young performers coming through who are desperate to do radio, certainly in Australia. And there are 100 ways we can get in front of them and help them get to where they need to go.
Do you think that because of Hamish and Andy's success, that it's kind of like the popular block becomes more popular and the unpopular block becomes less popular? Do you think the popularity of Hamish and Andy make the whole idea of being an entertainer, in part on the radio, more attractive to
Absolutely.
people?
And I have 4 daughters in various stages of teen life, and they have never woken up with the radio next to their bedside tables. And, when they get home from school doing their homework, the radio's not playing in the background like it used to for us. But when Hamish and Andy came to my town, they were banging on my door wanting a meet and greet. And they would come home from school to listen to the radio, to listen to these guys. Now, Hamish and Andy and these sorts of shows, they don't grow on trees, but it's absolutely critical, I think, for this category to go looking for these sorts of people.
So were you saying that because, to take your daughters as an example, because their music habits, I assume you're talking about, are more scattered, more diverse, more everything other than radio,
they're finding songs faster than I do.
Or on YouTube, that it's things other than music that are really the secret to Austereo going forward?
Well, music has to be a part of it, no question, and that's absolutely critical. But radio has always been at its best when the music stops, in my opinion, and American radio certainly over the journey has led the way in that respect, that has to be the point of difference for our industry, I think.
Let's talk about American radio. You come here as someone with abundant experience.
Come here in peace.
He comes here in peace, yet you come here with ears. What do you hear? What's your reaction to what you hear? What's your assessment?
I heard the birthday game on Seacrest at 8 o'clock yesterday morning. I know you'll do Pay Your Bills at some point across the course of the year. We used to come here in the mid-90s. Tracy would know. Tracy's done a lot of work with Austereo over the years, and we would come here every year, and we would go home with files this thick of ideas that we would bring back to our radio stations. And unfortunately, we don't come anymore. We'll come for a holiday, but we don't come here for ideas, and that's sad. And
that's because?
Well, because I don't think there's anything new happening in between the records. As an example, and I know this is going to be reasonably provocative, but let's talk about the New York market for a second. And I'm an outsider, and please, this is done with respect. But Top 40 radio has always been about relevance. It's at its best when it talks to and on behalf of a generation of listeners. One of the reasons why Madonna's not on the radio anymore, Top 40 anyway, is because she's been replaced by the next generation's new heroine or hero, whatever that might be. And then I look at Z100 and I see a guy who's brilliant and really talented, but he's in his 50s talking to a target audience in their 20s. And I just wonder whether that's a good thing moving forward. And I wonder...
Do you wonder whether that's a good thing, or do you have an opinion on that?
Clearly, no one wants to give up on a successful breakfast show, and Elvis has been successful for a long period of time. I'm not suggesting that there's a cut that needs to be made today or tomorrow, but I wonder what the Plan B strategy looks like for that show. And I wonder whether AMP had an opportunity to come in and, instead of playing 10,000 songs in a row, come into that market with a new, fresh show of young people talking to and on behalf of 25-year-olds. I wonder if that may have been a different result, because I hear AMP versus KISS in LA and I hear AMP versus Z100 in New York, and it feels like a zero-sum game. It's more music in a row. You asked me, what do I think of American radio? I don't hear any of your breakfast shows or drive shows promoted. I don't hear a single promo for, here's this amazing star we have in the morning who you're going to love, you need to listen to him again tomorrow. I just don't hear it. And I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but in Australia we invest all of our airtime into our talent. I've heard before from...
Stop there. We invest all of our airtime into our talent. Versus what? Investing it in a music position or investing it in...
Well, it's a combination of both, but 80-20... talent drive your brand perceptions, and that's where we see the opportunity. We think that's where the passion and the love for your radio station comes from.
That's also the difference between your station and somebody else's station.
Exactly, and our category and another category that has music in a row, which I think is an issue. I've heard before from American radio execs that, it's difficult to find talent, but God, I'd love to have your talent pool. I wish ours was as deep as yours. I mean, you have a country filled with loudmouths looking for something to say. No, I mean that in the nicest possible way, but you've got this incredible pool of...
Yeah, loudmouth is usually taken in the nicest way.
Well, but I mean that with love.
I know you do.
It's, you've got witty, brave, smart people who need a megaphone, and I think the opportunity is right there staring at... the business. And talking to a lot of people before this presentation, it feels like everyone is sort of in the same headspace about what needs to be done. I'm just not sure of the response and where that needs to come from.
In other words, does that need to come from someone over your head? Is that it?
Well, I guess for our category and for Australian radio, thankfully all of the key players think the same, which is we need a great breakfast show, we need a great drive show, and we will invest in developing those shows. And our view is, as soon as we've got our new breakfast show on the air, we start planning for its replacement. Wow. So a breakfast show is like a business plan. You have 2 years to develop it, you have 5 years of success, and then you sort of start to move towards an end. And for us, as soon as we have that new show on the air, we go, okay, well, what does the replacement look like? And I wonder whether that is happening. Maybe it is at Z100 in New York. Maybe they've been thinking about that for a long period of time, and if they haven't, then I think they've missed an opportunity.
I know there are questions for Craig Bruce. Let's throw it open. Anybody have a question?
Be nice to me. I've come a long way, and I'm jet lagged.
Thanks. Sandy Hurst, SoCast. I wanted to know, it sounds like attracting talent is easier than it is here. We heard earlier in the sessions that for lack of a better term, being on the radio isn't as sexy as it once used to be. Do you find that it's different in Australia? And if so, why and how can we work towards that?
Well, I mean, I think it's as sexy as you want to make it. And attracting talent is not difficult if you've got a product to sell. And, I read an article, a Howard Stern article a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about, listening to the radio growing up. And I would think you could talk to any, superstar radio performer, and they had their heroes. They had those people that inspired them to go on the radio. And in Australia, we've had some shows over the last 10 to 15 years where this younger generation coming through, they've got so many different choices. We're still finding enough shows that are relevant to them. And so the relevance of this business is based on what happens when the song stops. So we can make it as sexy as we want. Hamish and Andy made it sexy.
Craig, before we go to another question, let me ask you a question similar to the one I asked earlier, which is, a lot of people feel burdened by the fact that they're not in charge like you are, and they work for people who don't necessarily have the vision that you have on this. What advice do you give to someone who would love to create what you're creating every day, but doesn't have the permission to do so by management?
I think that, as Tracy said, everyone has their own media platform and media channel. I went to a concert with my daughter, 13-year-old daughter, the other day, and we had some photos with Jason Derulo. And I said to her...
Name dropper.
Sorry?
Name dropper.
Name dropper. And I said to her at the end of the night, I said, have you put your photos up on Instagram? She said, no, I'm going to do it at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Sunday night. That's when I'll get the traffic.
Oh, man.
No, your audience has an audience. No one is going to care as much about your brand as you do. And so I guess you can either go, well, nothing's going to change here, so I'm just going to give up, or there's a bunch of ways you can express yourself. And if part of it is through FM, through a 3-minute talk break with a guy winding you up at 3 minutes 20, then that's okay. But there's just no excuse not to be able to build a brand given the amount of platforms that are available to people today.
Mm-hmm. Young people, you talked about your daughters getting their music from YouTube. In Australia, are there other aspects? How are people using digital media in Australia different from what they may be using them in the US? And how does that help or hurt your brands?
Yeah, it's very similar to America. About 60% of our listening now happens in car. We've essentially lost at-home listening. We're in a real battle for at-work listening. We're not under as much pressure at the moment from Pandora at work. But I get research every night from my kids, and radio's just not on their radar. If we're in the car, it's a commodity. They go to where the hits are. And I don't know what that's going to look like in 5 to 10 years from now. But if it just comes down to a commodity approach, which is we're going to play this many songs in a row versus that station which plays more, and then Pandora over here doing something completely different, I don't know whether that's where the win is long term.
Mm-hmm. If Hamish and Andy are the biggest media brand in Australia, how is that expressed and monetized across platforms? How are you able to leverage that and monetize that in other media platforms?
They certainly monetised it, and we did as well. I mean, they're now a TV show. They do radio still, not as often as they were, but they do a radio show once an hour versus the 2 hours they were doing. We had, the previous speaker, is it Rick?
Rick.
These guys did content client integration better than any other show I've ever seen. I mean, they saw every single client brief as an opportunity for content. And some of the best content, the most memorable content we did was with clients, with their native advertising sitting right inside the content idea.
Give me an example.
They dropped a car out of a plane for a beer company that came specifically to that. So they had to the car had to land on a target, which and that company came to us. That beer company came to us saying we want these guys, and so they were open to right, every single opportunity from a content perspective, it can be either what we develop ourselves for clients or what clients are coming to us, and you know, it was the same approach.
And in both cases, I'm assuming it's got to be right for the brand as well as the client.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any last questions for Craig Bruce?
Craig, I'm a regular listener to another one of your shows, the Sydney Grill Team. And there's a couple other things I notice a lot that I was wondering if you could talk about briefly. One is that it sounds like you don't just have a real commitment to talent, but also to the support staff. When I hear the amount of people who are producing and who are doing other things clearly behind the scenes on that show, it really impresses me. The other question is, I also hear a lot of content adjustments on the show. I'm wondering how you make those decisions. Are you doing a lot of research? Are you operating by gut, or what are you doing?
We have so the SCA content vision is to select the cast, build the ecosystem, grow the brand. The end game, brand advocates, fans, not listeners. So the ecosystem around every show is absolutely critical. Content director, EP, show producer, audio producer, all of the elements, sales, general sales, integration. So we view the ecosystem around the show as being an absolutely critical component to the show's success. So I'm glad you pointed that out, and we work really hard at that. And look, we have resources that, by the sound of it, you guys would love to have again. You know, we have up to 4 producers working on every show in Sydney and Melbourne. But you know, I know it's amazing, isn't it? It's not for us. We see content as, you know, particularly today in a 24/7 cycle, everyone's going to land on the same story on the same day on radio. It has to come down to the treatment. How are you going to treat the story in your own way? And that's about planning and preparation and resources. And for us, that's absolutely critical. I mean, we have 2,000 people working in our business, and 250 of those work specifically on digital online content for our shows. So 10% of our teams work specifically every day on social and online content. So, you know, we take it seriously. And the industry in Australia takes it seriously. In terms of changes and adjustments, I mean, our content directors are working with the shows every day. You know, we have whiteboards with plans, weekly, monthly plans. We sit down with our talent every day and coach them and air check them and do all those sorts of things that I'm sure you guys were doing back in the day.
He came across the world to be here with us today. Please, everybody, thank Craig Bruce. Craig, thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful.